So what exactly are the roles of a police officer, a sergeant, and a lieutenant? Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. I am so excited to be back. I took a little bit of a break. Last month was absolutely nuts. Two of our kids were in T-ball. So needless to say, alternating days with games. One day was one child, the next day was another. I was getting up at about 4:45 in the morning, and my day was not ending until about 8 o'clock at night. And I'm sure, as most of you can probably understand, after that amount of time staying busy, I was ready to just call it a night at the end of the night. But either way, I am back, and I was really excited to make this video. This video idea actually came to mind today when I was on the road. Now that I have been a supervisor on the road for a little bit of time now, I feel like I'm a little bit more qualified to talk about the job. For those of you that have never watched my videos, I've been in law enforcement for 13 years and I made the rank of sergeant, which is a supervisor on patrol, back in December. So I figured today I would explain to you guys a little bit more about what all is involved in being a police supervisor. I've released numerous videos over the years talking about just being a police officer in general, but now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the supervisory aspect of things. The role of a supervisor, you're going to hear me use terms like supervisor and watch commander. The supervisor refers to the sergeant or the first line supervisor of a patrol shift. The watch commander is kind of like the highest ranking officer that's working on the road, although they're not usually on the road, they're usually at the station, but watch commanders have more of an administrative duty than the first line supervisors do. I do apologize ahead of time if I look a little bit shiny, but I just worked a 10-hour shift. I'm a little hot right now in the house, so just bear with me. So the first way that you can usually tell that you are speaking with a supervisor of a patrol shift is normally normal officers or regular officers have silver insignia. The telltale sign that you're talking to a supervisor is usually that they're wearing gold. Now again, this does not apply in every police department, but a lot of them do apply this rule. Supervisors usually have a different color insignia or something identifying on their uniform. The other way that you can tell that you are talking to the supervisor of a shift is usually their rank. If you look on their collar or on their shoulder, they usually have 3 gold stripes, and that indicates that you are speaking with a sergeant. The way to tell that you are talking to a watch commander or a lieutenant is they will usually either have a gold bar on their collar or on their shoulder. So the duties of a sergeant or a supervisor and a lieutenant or a watch commander differ, but they are also kind of the same. Now, I assume the responsibilities of the watch commander and I become the acting watch commander like I was today if my lieutenant calls out sick or he has a vacation day. So I then assume the responsibilities of both roles. And this can be kind of a daunting task if you work in a very busy city. So normally the role of the sergeant is to mainly be out on the road. They are supposed to be kind of overwatching the officers and making sure that they're following not only state law, but also departmental policy, and they're not saying anything that they're not supposed to be saying in uniform and being unprofessional. You do have sergeants that very much micromanage their people. I don't agree with this. I think if you are responsible enough to have a gun and take people's freedom, then I should be able to trust that you're going to make good judgments. So my supervision style, for the most part, some people would call it lax. I don't really think of it as lax. I just think of it as the fact that I trust my people until they give me a reason not to trust them. This goes against some supervisors' personal policies, whatever you want to call them, but that's just the way I roll at the end of the day. I have flat out told my officers, if you see me on a scene with you, I am not there monitoring you, I'm not judging you, I'm not grading you, I am literally only there to be an extra set of hands if we have to go hands-on with a suspect, or an extra gun if we have to search for a armed felon in the woods with a canine. I'm really only there to be an extra body, or if you need help, you're welcome to ask me a question. You can call me anytime, or we can meet up somewhere and I'll try to answer your questions the best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I have no idea, but I will find out for you. Now, since I became a supervisor, I have actually been transferred to a different shift. So I would eventually like to have somebody from my old shift come to be on the channel and talk to you guys and kind of tell you what kind of supervision style I have. I don't think it would be right to have somebody that currently works under me on the show because It's just a conflict of interest. So why not have somebody that used to be on my shift and has nothing to lose by being honest? That is something I would like to incorporate in a future video. So to elaborate a little bit, and I will go ahead and apologize, guys, if you hear like sniffing around and stuff. Echo is walking around here sniffing things in the room. But anyway, the job of a supervisor or a sergeant is mainly to be out there on the road, to be out there with his men and women and making sure everything is running smoothly, that they're answering questions that the officers might have if they get stuck, or maybe they've been in a situation that they've never encountered before. The other duty of a supervisor or sergeant is to check reports. Normally when officers log into their computer and they type out their narrative, they put involvements or offenses or people or vehicles or other property in there. Once they submit their report for approval, it kind of comes into this large inbox. I like to describe it as almost like a Microsoft Outlook inbox, where we as supervisors can go down the list and we check these reports. We double click them, it opens up the report, and we make sure everything is in line before it's approved. Because once it's approved, it's then subject to the Open Records Act. However, if there are mistakes or there's things that need to be fixed, we can reject the report, send it back to them with a message telling them what they need to fix. The sergeant is also responsible for taking warrants that the officers on the shift type up. Maybe they've made arrests over the weekend because the courts are not open during the weekend. In Georgia, you have 48 hours to get those warrants signed. So obviously, if somebody makes an arrest on a late Friday, they need to be signed by Sunday. So usually on a Sunday, the judge will come in and he will sign these warrants. Well, that is where the sergeant comes in. It's his or her responsibility to take those warrants and to present them to the judge to be signed. Definitely not a fun task. It's one of my least favorite things to do, but part of the job. Other duties of a sergeant also include doing things like line inspections, vehicle inspections. A lot of this supervisory stuff is not necessarily fun, but I do enjoy the fact that I am still able to be out on the road a bunch. I don't like being up at the station a lot. I don't like being crammed in this little hot, humid office all the time. So luckily when I'm checking reports and stuff, I can actually get in my car, crank up the AC. I have blacked out windows, so it just keeps the entire car cool and it makes things a heck of a lot easier. But I can sit in the comfort of my car, usually park somewhere near the station in a safe spot, maybe a cul-de-sac or something like that where I don't have to worry about an ambush. And I can check reports and get things done in the privacy of my own patrol car. Now, as far as the watch commander or lieutenant's responsibilities, the lieutenant is more of an administrative or management position. Sergeant, supervisor, lieutenant, management. Remember that. The higher up in rank you go, the less on the street you're going to be. You're going to be more at the office. You're going to be doing more administrative stuff. Once you make captain, you can pretty much forget ever being on the road anymore. I can't speak for every department, but I know at least with ours, once you make captain, you are no longer by the hour. You are now salary. So there is no more overtime for the captain. Whether you work 60 hours a week or 40 hours a week, you're going to be making the same. That does not apply to lieutenant and below. Again, I'm just speaking for my department. But I have noticed a lot of departments in Georgia are kind of the same way. I can't speak for places like Delaware or Alaska. I have no idea what they do there. But I am speaking for a lot of departments in Georgia. Now, the watch commander or lieutenant is primarily responsible for more administrative stuff, like I said, like coordinating training, coordinating people's vacation, sick time, doing their timesheets, which have to be done every 2 weeks, making sure everybody gets paid the way they're supposed to and vacation time is taken the way they're supposed to. They keep track of everybody's training hours and training classes on the calendar and things like that. Mostly office work. I mean, let's be realistic. But luckily, you know, the lieutenant does get to leave the office pretty often if they so choose to. But for the most part, you'll find a lot of lieutenants are at the station a lot. Now, when a lieutenant calls out or a sergeant calls out, one of the two supervisors now assumes all of that responsibility and has to carry the weight of everything that is considered a supervisory duty. Me personally, I don't mind that workload. It keeps me busy throughout the day. And I also kind of get to march to the beat of my own drum, if that makes sense. No offense against my lieutenant whatsoever. I'm just saying it's nice to kind of have my own rhythm going, if that makes sense. The one thing I have noticed in being a supervisor is that you assume so much more responsibility because people are calling you asking for advice on things like sexual assaults, aggravated assaults, you name it, they're calling you for it, and your judgment call is going to be what determines whether or not your department gets sued or something else crazy happens either on the street and does something civilly to you or to your department. So there is a much larger risk and responsibility that is on your shoulders as a supervisor. At least as an officer, you can kind of call a supervisor and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Now everything has shifted to their shoulders and it's no longer your concern at that point. But once you become a supervisor, those are now your shoulders to bear that weight on. But overall, guys, I love the position I'm in. I would not change anything about what I do right now. Like I always tell people, I really got into this job to help the public. That's why I got into this job, was to help people that needed help. And now as a supervisor, I get to help the people that are out there helping people, if that makes sense. So there's something very satisfying about it. But I think overall what I'm trying to bring to my shift is the old school style of police camaraderie. I've noticed that in today's age, things have changed a lot. People don't talk to each other as much. Everything's done through phones and this and that. Let's go eat. Let's go eat together. Let's go do something together as a group because we're a family. This is not just a job. I mean, technically it is, but we're all supposed to have each other's backs. And these are people I'm relying on with my life. And you're starting to see that crumble a little bit within the police community. And I want to bring that back. I remember when I started, we did everything together. When we were off duty, we were constantly together. We were over at each other's houses, having parties and having fun. And you really just don't see a lot of that anymore. And if you do, it must be a department that's out of the norm, because a lot of the ones I'm seeing now just aren't like that. And another thing I'm seeing is a lot of supervisors don't trust their people to do their job. I know a lot of officers that complain about supervisors that micromanage them constantly, and they hate coming to work because of it. You can just tell in their eyes that they're disgruntled and they don't want to be there. And I'm hoping to change that with my shift, at least. I'm not going to be able to change it with everybody, but if I can just change it on my shift and people can come in for briefing and I can tell them, you guys be safe. Here's what happened. Here's what happened last night. So you guys know, go out there, be the police, have fun, and be safe. That's it. I'm not going to bug you unless you need help. If you need help, call me. Otherwise, I'm just going to be in the background. Once you start doing those little changes like that, you'll start to see people become more excited to come to work again. Call-outs become less. Disgruntlement becomes less. Morale goes up. People start talking with each other. They start trusting you as their supervisor more. But like I said, overall, I love what I do, and I really hope the people on my shift enjoy working under me. I hope I make it a pleasurable experience coming to work. But anyway, guys, that is it. I really just wanted to talk about the difference between the two roles, between sergeant and lieutenant, and how their jobs are so different. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below and I'll try to address them accordingly. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Be safe, and I will see you guys very, very soon.